Thank you for the opportunity to have a chat to you about one of probably the most passionate subjects that I'm involved with, which is around digital transformation, and it's probably more specifically the digital economy in South Africa. I've just come back to South Africa 2 years ago after spending 13 plus years overseas, and the wave of digital activity that is happening across the US and Europe, parts of Asia, is definitely coming into Africa, and more importantly to South Africa. And we're sort of right on the cusp of riding this wave, and so being able to chat about this with you and share the excitement is pretty cool. So what is the digital economy, and sort of how do we at Accenture see this? So firstly, in a country that has suppressed growth and looking for opportunities or catalysts for economic, social growth, what would be the major catalyst for growth? And we see digital as one of those major catalysts. We see digital as an opportunity to directly impact the country's GDP, and much more importantly, on a humane level, we see a direct impact to social impact services and to the real citizenship of the country. And so if you combine the opportunity that digital brings, both at a macro GDP level as well as a sort of social service impact level, how amazing for the South African economy if digital could move the dial 1%, 2%, 3%. And that's sort of what makes me so passionate. So we've done some research around how big is the digital economy in South Africa, because that's also been somewhat of a bone of contention over the last few years around whether this is really a real market opportunity, both in terms of businesses and in terms of people absorbing those services. And the research is really glaringly in the direction that the digital economy is coming. So the research that we've done has shown that from a business perspective, this market is about a $3 billion market. And if you have a look at how does that market get made up? It gets made up of the different components across digital. So it gets made up around digital products, digital channels, digital loyalty, all the data and applied intelligence components, all the related tech. And if you put that together, you get to a $3 billion market. So it's seriously a serious business opportunity over the next 3 to 5 years. And it's also a serious socio-economic opportunity from a country perspective. And so this is why we are excited, and secondly, moving fast. We at Accenture see ourselves at a digital accelerator for Africa, which really means that we want to play a role in accelerating the South African economy and South African businesses towards this digital economy. So where do we see the biggest opportunity and the biggest impact? So if you have a look over the last few years, I suppose one reservation around this is that companies haven't moved forward into the digital economy as fast as their peer group overseas. So often digital is a bit esoteric and there's a lot of marketing vibe around it. Sometimes it's even parallel to innovation. Sometimes digital thinks it's just about mobile. And so while there's a lot of excitement, there's a little bit of noise, and sometimes it's not pragmatic enough in terms of what digital really means to South African business and South African citizens. So let's talk a bit about some of the practicality about this. So, let's start off with the government sector, for example. If you have a look at national services today, there's a great opportunity to digitize these services and place those services in the palm of the hand of a citizen through mobile. If you look at South Africa today, we have 120% penetration of SIM cards. We have 30% penetration of mobile smartphones. This power in your pocket to be able to activate citizen services is a very big opportunity for us. Not only will it enhance the lives of people on a daily basis, it will also just increase the productivity. And so, whether it's a national ID activity, whether it's something with regards to the Reserve Bank, whether it's visas, etc., if you are able to do that through your mobile phone at the point of need much faster, much quicker, I think that will ultimately make South Africa a better place to live and ultimately improve the lives of citizens. If we pivot to the enterprise sector and take out some examples there, let's talk about retail, for example. Today, I think roughly the stat around eCommerce or retail shopping is probably 1% across the country online. Will that continue, or will there be a move very similar to Europe and the States and Asia, where online shopping is quite a serious part, of retail? It doesn't mean that stores will be replaced, of course not. In fact, physical stores are fighting back, but e-commerce will definitely become a much bigger player in the country. And if the likes of Alibaba or Amazon come into the country, I think we'll see significant disruption to retail as we know today. And then if you have a look at the stores, if you have a look at some of the new next generation stores overseas, for example, Nike, digital activity, whether it be demonstrations of products or whether it be sharing of information or whether it just be a great experience for the consumer, which interlocks sporting information and sporting idols and the product blended together via a digital medium. These are opportunities that the physical store has as well. So there you see a significant opportunity unfolding when we blend the physical and digital world. If we have a look at banking, I think banking has been progressive in South Africa already, and some of the banks like FNB, for example, provide very innovative services. In addition, you've just seen Absa, for example, release their WhatsApp products. So banking has always been innovative, I think, in South Africa, but disruption is unfolding. If you have a look at the new entrants in the fintech space, the likes of Bank Zero, for example, the likes of Discovery Bank, for example, Time Bank, for example, that's already launched. There is fintech disruption, which is going to change the way large banks operate. Their cost point will come under pressure, for example, and consumers will be expecting much more from them. So we're going to see significant disruption, in the traditional bank and fintech space. And then finally, if you blend all these industries together, we call this liquid expectations, is that at a basic human level, you and myself, at the consumer level, whether we go onto Facebook, whether we go onto Takealot, whether we go onto Gumtree, whether we go onto Standard Bank, FNB, whether we log into the SARS website, we want the same experience across all these different channels. And that's probably, from a digital perspective, one of the biggest challenges for all companies today is how do you provide the same experience across the physical and digital channels seamlessly so that it really meets the consumer or the customer expectations, remembering that we have very high expectations today because of some of the channels that we interact with. So when we have a look at digital, we sort of see it from three key cornerstones, let's call it. One is the human side of it, the other is the data side of it, and the other is the technology side of it. And we've spoken a bit about it from a human and consumer perspective. Let's talk about the data side, because without data, there's no digital. And I think if you look at the data side and the tech side, these are probably two areas which will create massive disruption in South Africa. So let's think about two examples. I'll start with intelligent automation as the first example around data. So the ability to blend intelligent systems and humans is a significant disruption, I think, that's coming into South Africa. The opportunity that artificial intelligence brings to the South African marketplace is significant. And it's not so much about displacing jobs as it is about recreating new jobs. And we're going to see, particularly in the manufacturing industry, particularly in the agricultural industry, and then possibly in the mining industry, we're going to see intelligent automation playing a significant role in how these industries run in the next 2 to 3 years. And from a country perspective, if we don't put our hands around this and really get ready for this, this will move from being a great opportunity to being a very negative disruption. So the success here of embracing artificial intelligence in these industries and intelligent automation is for the private enterprise and government to come together. And we have to talk about what are the new jobs that are going to be created, which jobs are going to become redundant, and how do we create regulation and opportunity between private sector and government to stimulate the development of these new roles and their associated training programs that come with it. And then if we have a look at the other areas where data and tech really come together, and this is around what we call the hyper-relevance in the market. So today, as consumers and as shoppers, we are no more okay with receiving irrelevant campaigns and irrelevant adverts and irrelevant branding around the product and services that we like. We're much more demanding today in terms of wanting personalized information in the format that we wanted, at the time we wanted, through the channel that we wanted. And we call this hyper-personalization of the market. And hyper-personalization is all about one-to-one. It's about knowing when does Wayne want to be able to buy something, and where does Wayne want to buy it, and how does Wayne want to buy it. And the data that is surrounding me provides information that allows us to be able to make those decisions.